Welcome to the EHS Radio Show on Siemens FM. I'm your host, David Walker. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you very much. Total worker health is important. Yes, it is. But how does it support the safety of our coworkers and our teams? Is there a shift from the basics of safety, or does this natural evolution improve our ability as an organization to really incorporate the whole picture? Good question. Our guest today makes his second visit to the EHS Radio Show. Please welcome back to discuss this idea, the Vice President of EHS for Siemens in the United States, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Carroll Higdon. Carroll, thank you so much for taking the time.
Dave, thank you so much for inviting me back to the EHS Radio Show. You've done some phenomenal broadcasts. You've had some phenomenal guests, and I'm honored to be with you.
Yeah, you're the first repeat guest, so this is going to be really good.
It's an honor to be invited back a second time.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll make it more of a regular thing. So, Carroll, first of all, every program that we do, this will be the 29th version of this show, and we're quickly getting up there with some good topics. But before we go, last time you and I talked, we talked about our aha safety moment, the thing that drives us, that really pushes us. And your comments, there was a series of events in your life and in your professional career. So your safety aha moment, do you have one, or do you have a couple that really, really drives you in your pursuit of the next goal or pushes you towards EHS business excellence? Do you have something in mind?
I do, Dave, and I would actually break it into two different parts. One of the things we often hear is no news is good news. And in the EHS profession, I think that couldn't be truer. We go out and we'll never know from the works that we do, the safety measures we implement, the environmental measures we implement, the health measures, we'll never know exactly how many lives are touched in a positive way. And that's really kind of a good thing, because the less reports we get, the less people who are injured, the less we're affecting the environment, the less we hear about it. And that's a wonderful position to be in. So no news is good news. So that's one of the things that I think we really should look for, is we want to highlight some of the good things that are happening. We want to continue to do that. But the less we hear about negative occurrences, boy, that is a fantastic thing for us.
Good point.
And the second part that I would point to is we get a lot of feedback from people when we're going to work in the businesses and we're trying to help them evolve their safety program to be not onerous, and we may have done that in the past, but to be something that they can rely on, a part of their everyday job. They're used to it, and it is seen as something that helps them rather than a necessary evil. And that's always something that we really want to drive for. So one of the things that I really, really do look for in an aha moment is when we can go out and we can really embed EHS with the workers. We don't push down a regulation or a policy from on high and say, hey, you must follow this, without any anticipation of how the workers are going to have to deal with this new regulation. We actually work with them, and to see the appreciation from them that they're involved, and to see them actually wanting to get involved, that's a great moment for me. When we can make that happen, when we can start getting the employees involved who are actually going to have to do it. Let's face it, Dave, you and I aren't the ones getting injured. It's the folks on the front line. It's the people doing the hard jobs for us every single day. And by involving them, they know what's right and wrong. They know how to do that job. They know how they can do it safely. They just need our support. Well, the more we can involve them, the better off we are.
Excellent points, and I think that's what drives our profession. And you're a perfect example of that, and an excellent leader. So that brings me into this topic that I want to talk to you about today. It's a really good segue into this. Carroll, you and I have had a lot of discussions. We work very closely together about getting back to the basics. Let's not forget the basics of EHS. All the new programs and all the new data and all the new digital tools, and they're important, and they're great, and they're really what keeps us going and competitive in our industry, within our business, is about being recognized. But Carroll, have we as a profession drifted from the basics of safety?
Or was it long overdue and now this is the new basics? I'm interested in your perspective on this with respect to total worker health.
Dave, I'll give you a definitive answer. Yes and no.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So I'll tell you, yes, we have drifted away from the basics a bit, and I think we've got to get back to that. We've got to think about the worker, their everyday job that they're doing. Let's face it, Dave, we require workers within our organization to put their hands on the work that they're doing. We don't have a fully automated process across Siemens. So the more hand touches that an employee has on the product, on the job that they're doing, the more potential or the higher potential you have for an incident to occur, right? So to speak, the front of your brain has to stay engaged 100% of the time during the day. When you work with your hands 100% of the day, your mind has to stay engaged. When your subconscious takes over, you have a potential for an incident there because situations change on a dime. So if you think about us driving our vehicles down the interstate, and we've talked about this before, you're driving your vehicle down the interstate, and suddenly you look around and you say, I don't remember the last few miles. Yeah. Where am I? What mile marker am I passing? We were doing something as important as driving a vehicle in heavy traffic, and we disengage for a period of time. What do you think about a worker who's out there working on the factory floor or doing the same job over and over again out in the field? They can have that subconscious take over as well. But when we do, there's more of a potential for incident. So how do we build more safety into the process? How do we take it out of chance? How do we take it out of the line of just being by chance that the worker was safe today or didn't have an incident today? If our workers working safely, they're doing those things.
How do you relate that then into the new buzzwords, the mental wellness, total worker health? How in your mind have we in Siemens incorporated that aspect of total worker health? Is it more just awareness? Is it a real awareness of how they're feeling today or what's going on? How do you relate that to the highway driving incident in your mind?
So very simply, Dave, when we talk about, as Siemens, we want to create the safest work environment possible, right? Yes. We also need to create a safe mental space, a place where an employee, all of us have a life outside of Siemens. We all have daily things that we deal with family, with finance, with everything you can imagine. We all have that baggage that we bring with us every single day. So the question that you're really asking is, how do we clear our minds and focus on the here and now? Exactly what I'm doing today. How do we become present in the moment? That's the key to what we've got to do. One of the things that as Siemens that we have to do, and as any business, we've got to go out and we've got to create an environment where it's okay for an employee to say, I need to take a few minutes to step away from this task, this job, whatever they're doing, and clear their mind. Maybe they're thinking about other things. They've got other things on their mind. Maybe they've had something go on at their house before they left in the morning. And when they get to the job, they're thinking about that and they're not thinking about the things that could hurt them on this job. And that's an important piece for us for Siemens. We've got to enable every single employee to feel free to speak up, to say, I'm just not there 100%, and with no repercussions for that employee. We've got to be understanding, and we've got to give them the opportunity to raise their hand and say, I need to get my mental status in check before I go and do this project, before I go and do this task. Does that make sense?
Well, when you put it that way, Carroll, that is basic, right? I mean, it's basic.
Very basic.
We've talked about it for years in our profession, and it's enlightening and encouraging for me that it's now not a taboo to talk about it. And I think
it's something we can all relate to, Dave. Whether you're an actual physical a person doing physical work out on a shop floor or out in the field or on projects, or you're in the office, we can all relate to that baggage that we bring with us. We all have it. Why don't we just all acknowledge it?
Yeah, good point. Very well done. And that's what I wanted to hear from you. And I think it's a great message where you're going to share it with the world here today. So also, as a U.S. EHS leader, as the U.S. EHS leader for Siemens, where do you see our EHS program going in the next 2 years with what we talked about? And also spread it out about 5 years. Where do you see this philosophy, this mindset, where do you see it taking us in the future?
Dave, I think we've got a brilliant future for the EHS side of the business as we move forward. One of the things that I see us doing now, more than we ever have, is to focus on the things that we're asking people to do, the safety policies, the health policies, the environmental policies. And we're not just pushing policies out anymore. We're not just pushing procedures out. We're really looking at things. And Dave, you've heard me say this before. If we're doing something and it's not bringing a bang for the buck, we're not getting a return on that investment, we need to stop doing that thing, whatever it is, or we need to come up with a better way to do it. We need to stop just doing things because we think it's a requirement or we think it sounds good on paper. If it's not doing good for the employee in the field who's working, if it's not keeping people safe, if it's not adding to their health management side of things, and if it's not productive for the environment, we need to put a brakes on it, and if we need to do something different. And it's just that simple. And I see that evolution going on in our realm right now. We are more engaged with the workers in the field. And when I say workers in the field, I'm not just talking about the hands-on labor folks. I'm talking about every person who's working for Siemens, office or field related. When we engage with them and talk about what do you need to be safe, here's something we're thinking about. What do you think? But how does this actually look in reality when you put it in the field? And we make decisions based off of that. Now we're starting to go in the right direction. So I think we've got some basics we want to get back to, but we want to continue this forward thinking of what works. And if it doesn't work, don't do it. Do something different.
Yeah, I think that's a philosophy that we've adopted within Siemens, and with your guidance and leadership, I am very confident we're going to be able to do that. And our profession has been recognized within Siemens. The fact that you're part of the United States leadership team, you're right there with the business leaders and the division leaders and the operator. It's a great platform, and I appreciate all the work you've done, Carroll, to push this. So keep going with it.
Thank you.
From your perspective, your personal journey inside Siemens, think about that. And when you think about it, what would you be willing to share with the audience today, with the world, as to why you and I both agree that Siemens is an employer of choice, a real preferred employer? What would you be willing to tell us to support that?
Dave, that's a fantastic question. We often see that on our S-Guests, our surveys. Would you be willing to recommend this Siemens to a friend or colleague? For me, it's unequivocally yes, absolutely, without a doubt, without any hesitation. For many reasons, actually. One, I think we care about the employee, everyone who comes to work for us. And Dave, you and I get to work with our executive management for Siemens. We get to work with everybody who's in the field. We get to work with our first line supervisors. I can honestly say that we always talk about the employees. How can we do things to benefit them? It may come across a little bit different, and we're wondering why we're doing certain things, but there's always the employee that's forefront. So I think that's a very important piece for anybody working to Siemens to know, that the well-being of our employees is always on the forefront. It's always there. We want to provide that safe and work environment for you to be here. But let's jump across to another side, Dave. We're a stable organization. We've been around for a really long time. And that's one of the things that I find great about Siemens. Because we're a stable organization, we can focus on the employees more. We're continually looking at how we can do better work, how we can provide our customers with what they need, how we can expand our work environments. And Siemens is ripe with opportunities. If you want to try something else, if you want to try a different area, we have mentor programs, we've got mentor pods, we've got all different resources for employees to reach out. Hey, man, I'm working in EHS today, but I'd like to work in finance, or I'd like to work in operations. How would I do that? We have so many people across this organization who are so wonderful, who are willing to share their knowledge, their expertise. How do you get to these different positions? Yeah. So it's a huge company, but it's really a big family. And that's one of the best things that I would say about Siemens. It really is a family.
I couldn't have put it any better. And I think that's not just talk, that's real, because we both experienced it. And good summation. Thank you, Carroll. Hey, Carroll, it's a pleasure to talk with you and to share this conversation, and I'm fortunate that we share these conversations a lot, you and I, as we work on a daily basis with our colleagues. Thank you for sharing it today with the world, and thank you so much for coming back to the program.
Dave, again, thanks. It was an honor to be here with you, and keep doing the great work you're doing.
No, thank you. It's fun. So, folks, you've been listening to the EHS Radio Show on Siemens FM. Please take the time to invite your friends to subscribe to the show, as you already have, and for heaven's sakes, don't hesitate to provide feedback to Carroll and myself. Send it to me at david.w.walker@siemens.com. Be kind to everyone, and for heaven's sakes, be safe.